What's up, YouTube? Oh, wait a minute. I got to go turn on the lights. Stand by. Boy, am I glad I was wearing pants. There we go. And mute the phone. Do not disturb me. I'm back from vacation. Relaxed. Pretty much as lily white as I was when I left. I don't spend a lot of time lying in the sun. But yeah, I'm always relaxed. Right? You never see me tense. Well, we were out gallivanting across the West. Cyndi, my lovely wife, Cyndi. And I was hoping that she could join me on this episode, but she's got a real job, and I think she's out working today, I think. But she suggested that I should do a travel show. I mean, a real travel show. And I said, there's already a ton of travel shows. And I was kind of disappointed that then she didn't say something like, well, yeah, but yours would be better. She didn't. Still, I have realized that I have turned the Triangle Talk Show into a travel show from time to time. We've taken you to Hawaii, to the beach. Anything else? I don't know. And while nobody else out there in the audience has been clamoring for more, I figured, what the heck? We had a great time. I've got a ton of pictures. I know that people like nothing more than looking at pictures of someone else's vacation and listening to them drone on about it. But isn't that pretty much just the definition of a travel show? So that's what we'll do. Oh, it says I'm supposed to play the music. You know, I didn't get the music ready. Can I? Oh, jeez. I don't know how to run Windows 10 yet. I'm still working on it. Here comes the music. From the studio, in the bonus room. I'm glad I got this memorized. In the, above the garage on the north side of Cary at the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show. I even have a script and I can't. Well, I had to make the script go away because then I needed to see the thing for the music. Have I mentioned I don't know how to run Windows 10 yet? I'm working on it. It is, that's supposed to come up when I say this is the Triangle Talk Show. For those of you watching the picture. For those of you on the audio, you've got no idea what's going on. This is episode 58. It's a travel show. It's called Mud Season. Friday, May 17th, 2019. This is your weekend's entertainment. For those of you that don't catch it immediately on Friday. This is your weekend's entertainment. Okay, so now one more problem to fix. This will only take me a minute. My Wirecast is gone. A little batty on me. There we go. We're all back to work. I'm Gary Pierce. Tonight I'm a travel expert. Or as it says in the title, ha! With an emoji. I figured out how to put an emoji on the titles. Maybe I do know how to run Windows 10. Okay, so I'm not a travel expert, but I'll play one on TV. This is a travel show, even though Mud Season sounds like it could be a political show. But it's not. It's a travel show. Triangle Talk Show is it's a podcast and a YouTube video for the Triangle area of North Carolina. We cover anything we want to. Travel, politics, anything we want. pretty significant lean to the left in terms of the politics. But not always. It's not always politics. Website, triangletalkshow.com. I think, yeah, it looks like that. Sort of. There we go. I got a Facebook group that is also named the Triangle Talk Show. On Twitter, we are at Talk Triangle. And on YouTube, I'm ashamed to admit that I haven't hit the 100 subscriber mark. I begged for some subscribers on the last show. We're sitting at 49 at that point. What are we doing now? Well, without that 100 subscribers, then the URL to get to the YouTube channel is just gibberish. So the thing to do is go to the website and find the little link to the YouTube channel, and that will get you there. And we're still at 49 subscribers. Oh well. Let me beg one more time. Go to the website, subscribe. Go to the website, find your way to YouTube, subscribe. Even if you never intend to watch the show again, subscribe and help us get to that 100, and then we can become youtube.com/Triangle Talk Show. I covet that. Let's see. Okay, good. On this episode, this travel episode, it's going to be somewhat politics free, but not entirely. I want to take a minute. It's going to be more than a minute, be honest, Gary. I want to take a minute to say something about what everybody else on Talk TV is talking about, and that's the Alabama abortion bill. And I want to do that because we've been following the North Carolina Born Alive bill, and that is the bill that would make it illegal for a doctor to kill an infant who somehow managed to end up alive following an attempted abortion procedure, or as the anti-abortion folks are calling it, a botched abortion. So now you may be thinking to yourself, isn't it already illegal to kill a live human being? Because if a fetus is born, whether it was from an abortion attempt or not, isn't it then a live human being? Isn't it already illegal to kill a live human being? Well, yes. If you say that to yourself, you're right. It is. The Republicans who support this bill, and that is all of them, they want you to think that there are doctors out there who say, look, a live little baby that they thought they were aborting. And then they think to themselves, well, damn, that didn't go as planned. Tell you what, I'm just going to off this little sucker and call it good. Nobody's got to know. They think that happens. Well, they can talk to one doctor who did just that. Have I got the... Yeah, there it is. Gosnell. They can point to him. He was convicted of multiple counts of murder, and he is now rotting away in a Pennsylvania prison for life without parole, without the North Carolina Born Alive bill. So he's their poster boy. He's the one. Are there any others? I've been on Google for a good long time, and I came up with two more doctors who were convicted of doing some shady things with clients, but not of killing live babies from attempted abortions. So the count of doctors who actually killed babies who were alive at the end of an attempted abortion procedure, that count remains at 1. Even so, the bill passed the North Carolina legislature, both houses. It got vetoed by Governor Cooper, and then the NC Senate voted to override the veto, and you can see them do that in Triangle Talk Show episode 58. That kind of convoluted 3-part episode because they had some trouble. Not going to have any trouble with this episode. Everything is going to go according to plan. What could possibly go wrong? The Senate did take their vote to override the veto. The North Carolina House has not taken their vote to override the veto. And according to an article in the News and Observer from Paul Specht, I hope I got your name pronounced right, Paul. The North Carolina House is in no hurry to do that. And that's because, I hate the way their website does this. That's because the outcome in the House is uncertain. The Senate, over in the Senate, running the show is too complex for me to talk and run the show at the same time. The job of technical director is open if anybody wants it. The Senate leaders, they were pretty sure they had the votes to override. And they did. Even though Republicans in both houses lost their veto-proof supermajorities in last November's election when a bunch of Democrats got elected despite our very gerrymandered districts. The Senate Republicans did manage to get one Democrat, Don Davis from Pitt County. He got them to vote with them to override this veto. And that's all they needed. They needed that one Democrat and they could override the veto. They need more Democratic votes than that in the House. And nobody knows whether they can get them. So one thing they can do is just wait until a few Democrats are absent and then spring the vote. You just have it all teed up, ready to go, but not today. No, not today. No, maybe not tomorrow. Maybe, but not tomorrow. Not planning on it. What? There's 3 Democrats out today? Boom. Let's take a vote. They're in no hurry. They've got until the session ends. That's not till sometime early next year. So go read Paul's article for more details. So one thing about that North Carolina Born Alive bill, the Republicans did go to great length to be sure that a woman who has an abortion can't be prosecuted for it. The bill is not aimed at them. The bill is aimed at the doctors. The Alabama bill that was passed and signed by their governor this week is different. It absolutely targets the mother with a mandatory 99-year sentence for murder for getting an abortion at any point. Not 20 weeks, not 6 weeks, not 6 minutes. Anytime. And if she goes out of state to have the abortion, well, sorry, it's still murder if you come home. Any exceptions? The life or health of the mother. And that's all. Rape, incest. Sorry, honey, that is God's will. You deliver that child. Okay, sounds draconian, right? Of course, the bill is going to be challenged in court. It and all of the other bills that are out there, most of them are called 6-week heartbeat bills. And there's a bunch of states that are working on those. They make that abortion illegal when the fetal heartbeat can be detected, and that's at about 6 weeks. All of those bills and the Alabama bill, they are designed to be challenged in court. And the hope is that one or more of them will make it up to the Supreme Court, where the new 5-4 conservative majority will use them to overturn Roe v. Wade. This is not a lock. It's not a sure thing. But it's likely enough that the anti-abortion bloc has stepped past their strategy of just chipping away at Roe by making it harder to keep clinics open, harder for women to obtain legal abortions in some parts of the country because there's just no place to get them. They're stepping past that strategy, and they're going for the gold, a direct Supreme Court repeal of Roe. And so if you're freaking out about how draconian the new Alabama law is, well, be freaked out about it for what it really means. It doesn't go into effect for 6 months. Plenty of time for the ACLU or Planned Parenthood or someone to get it blocked in court because it clearly contradicts Roe. Roe is the law of the land. Roe is abortion legal up to 20 weeks. So these clearly contradict Roe, and they will be struck down in lower courts, and then the appeals begin all the way to the Supreme Court if they're even a little bit lucky. Or maybe not. Some conservative pundits are saying the Alabama law is too draconian. Pat Robertson, the 700 Club guy, he thinks the Alabama bill has gone too far.
I think Alabama has gone too far. They've passed a law that would give a 99-year prison sentence to people who commit abortion. There's no exception for rape or incest. It's an extreme law, and they want to challenge Roe versus Wade. But my humble view is that this is not the case we want to bring to the Supreme Court, because I think this one will lose.
Yeah. So, that's the point. A lot of people are saying that, including Slate magazine, Slate Online. They're considerably more liberal. Supreme Court watcher Dahlia Lithwick, she says that anti-choice activists are getting ahead of themselves, like slurring drunks at a frat party and making everything more transparently nasty than it needs to be. And that's going to make it harder for John Roberts, the new swing justice, to go along. Well, the Supreme Court can decline to take up the Alabama law and just leave it rejected by the lower courts. So if Alabama is too extreme, they can just let it be rejected. And it will be rejected, right? I mean, it so directly conflicts with Roe, a Supreme Court precedent. Well, remember, Donald Trump has been filling district and appellate court vacancies like crazy with his judges, as well as the Supreme Court, because elections have consequences. Maybe the Supreme Court can justify one of those heartbeat bills. Maybe they can, as long, this is a complex episode too, as long as they have not read Adam Rogers' article in Wired magazine. He quotes Dr. Jennifer Kearns. She's an OBGYN at San Francisco, at UC San Francisco. She's the director of research in obstetrics and gynecology at Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital. Yes, that Zuckerberg. So Dr. Kearns talks about that 6-week heartbeat bill and describes it this way. The thing about the heartbeat. It's a group of cells with electrical activity. That's what the heartbeat is at the 6-week stage of gestation. We are in no way talking about any kind of cardiovascular system. And then Rogers, the author, he sums it up like this. If you're thinking about this as something that looks roughly like a person, with something that looks roughly like a chest, and inside of which something that looks roughly like a Valentine going pitter-pat or lub-dub, lub-dub, you're picturing the wrong thing. This 6-week heartbeat thing, well, it's just a cluster of pulsing cells. So the doctors probably have themselves to blame for this thing. They called this electrical activity a heartbeat to encourage pregnant women, to just, kind of buck them up. Because sometimes, pregnancy is tough. That electrical activity, it is a sign. It is a very early sign of a pregnancy that is progressing normally. So they used this saying, well, here's your fetal heartbeat. So if you're worried, relax a little bit. Things are going fine. And they called it a heartbeat. All the anti-abortion activists and legislators here is that word heartbeat. And that's all they hope you hear too. Well, anyway, here's the short story on the Alabama abortion law and all the heartbeat laws. They are not designed to actually go into effect. Not now, anyway. They are designed to give the conservatives on the Supreme Court a way to overturn Roe and jump past the drip, 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 or chip, 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 piece by piece dismantling of Roe. Now, if they're successful, it won't mean abortion is illegal everywhere. There's still going to be a few states where it will be legal. North Carolina will probably not be one of them. You know, elections have consequences. We're still a purple state, and maybe we'll get past some of this gerrymandering before 2020. So maybe we will have a legislature that will not put North Carolina in the totally illegal category, but that's what they're trying for. Well, actually, it's not what they're trying for right now with our Born Alive bill. But they'd go there if they thought they could. If Alabama ultimately gets their way, an Alabama woman who gets an abortion by traveling to one of the few states where it is still legal, well, she'd best not plan on coming home. She'll be charged with murder. All right, is it vacation pictures time? Let me look. No, not quite. Almost. I want to insert this deep thought that I got from the comics the past couple weeks. Yes, the comics and the News and Observer. There is a strip called Fraz that is one of my favorites. It's often very witty and very offbeat. And a recent theme was this. If the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, then what is the definition of practice? I love that. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Doing the same thing over and over again. Insanity or practice? I'm sure you've heard that too. I'm sure you've heard that before. Okay, so that practice thing, yeah, that wasn't new with this Fraz comic. I'd never heard it before. 4 years ago, somebody posted it on Reddit. And then some wag replied, I pinch my nose to do this. No, the classical definition is that by... The nose is too much. The classical definition is that by having exactly the same variables, you will get the same result. 2 plus 2 equals 4 every time. Adding them up and expecting to get 5 is insanity. Practice is the repetition of an exercise in order to improve muscle memory and coordination, wherein the repetition changes the input slightly until the expected result is achieved. Practice would be useless if nothing changed. It is the slow changing of variables and therefore the slow changing of the result. So take that, Fraz. You thought you were so clever. Oh, by the way, most of the time when you hear the insanity quote, it is attributed to Albert Einstein. He probably didn't say it. Technical director at work here again. The website, quote, Investigator did the research, and they concluded that it probably came from Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous, with the earliest reference that they could find from a pamphlet in 1981. And that's where I first heard it in 1988, which is when I went to AA and NA. And it was a well-worn phrase back then. Everybody was quoting it. So, but that's the earliest reference they could find. Just to drag this out a little bit longer, I got this one here. Yeah, I think so. There's an article by Ryan Howes, PhD in Psychology Today. He says the Reddit guy is all wet. Looking for, what we've got here in Psychology Today. He says, to be clear, insanity is a legal term pertaining to a defendant's ability to determine right from wrong when a crime is committed. And he goes on, the link is on the website, triangletalkshow.com. Take a look at that if you want the details. All right. It occurs to me from showing you all that my superpower is draining fun from everything. That's a line I like. And by the way, I stole that line from a singer. Her name is Marian Call. She has a great song called I'll Still Be a Geek after Nobody Thinks It's Chic. It's the Nerd album. And I would play a little bit of it for you, but I would get a YouTube takedown, so the link is on the website. Okay, just a little bit.
For my superpowers, draining fun from parties. But if I am a misfit, then I'm in good company.
Okay, attention, Marion Call, or whoever's running that YouTube channel, don't take me down. I didn't use very much. That's not fair use, by the way. It's not the excuse for fair use, but it can help. You want to see the vacation? Well, I'm not ready yet. One more thing. As long as we're in the geek zone. New phone. New phone, who dis? Have you heard that line? New phone, who dis? The kids say that. Maybe the kids used to say that. I don't know if the kids still say that anymore. Since I learned that you could say that, probably the kids don't say that anymore. Got a new phone. It's just a black slab like every other new phone. But inside the black slab is a Google Pixel 3a XL. And it is replacing my 3-year-old Google Nexus 6P. That was Google's premier flagship phone 3 years ago. And that phone, the Nexus 6P, it still works fine. It could use a total reset to clean out some of the cruft that's built up and is kind of slowing it down. That's not hard to do. I will do that sometime. But Google stopped supporting it last November. It doesn't even get security updates. I wasn't going to reward that kind of extortion. Yeah, your phone's 3 years old? What, you say it's working perfectly? Sorry, no more support. Not even security updates. I wasn't going to reward that kind of extortion, but everybody does it. All the other companies do the same thing, or worse. And then Google announced this new set of what everyone is calling their mid-price or mid-range phones. The Google Pixels are in the version 3 category, and they're $700 to $900 or more, depending on how much stuff you get in them. So this, the Pixel 3a XL, is just under $500, and its baby sister is about $400. Or $20 a month with no interest. So I bid. I'm not usually such an early adopter, but this is just a slightly stripped down version of a phone that's been around for a while. The reviews have been great. The Pixel 3s, the non-3As versions, have had some troubles. Kind of hoping they got past those. Everybody is crossing their fingers and hoping that, because they've had some experience with the software and stuff that goes in them. The number one outstanding feature in here is their camera. And, I'm showing the camera to my camera, but it's, really kind of useless because we're going through so many steps of things that you can't tell how good a camera it is. But I have noticed that it is a really good camera, much better than the Nexus 6P. Yay! I think we've arrived at vacation season. If I can bring that up to full screen, and we will get going. We are on our way to Park City, Utah, for mud season. Mud season is the time between ski season and the beginning of summer activities. And I'm leaving my script behind and going full ad lib. This is flying into the Salt Lake Valley. So what's just last week? For those of you that are watching the pictures, and for those of you that are not, I'll paint an acoustic picture as best I can. We're looking at one of the mountain ranges that rim the Salt Lake Valley, and you can see that on the top of them, it's still full of snow, even though it's mid-May. Hang on, I need some water. I'll be right back. Getting very froggy here. All right. Still full of snow up there. Interesting flight. We flew, Cyndi and I, from Raleigh to Phoenix to Salt Lake City. This is the row I was sitting in on the flight from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. What is wrong with this picture? Well, if you've done any flying, you would know that the planes are generally jam-packed. This is the exit row, but the picture could have been of any row. This plane was about half empty. It never happens anymore. I had a row to myself. Our first stop was going to be out to a place called Promontory. It is Promontory is the site where the two railroads came together, the left and right, the West Coast and East Coast. Back in the Civil War era, they were building the railroads and trying to connect California and East Coast and Midwest, I guess. I'm sure they let the train stop now and then somewhere in the Midwest. And the anniversary of that, the 150th anniversary of that, was last week. So, but it's not what we were going out there for. In fact, we were trying to go see that spot before the big anniversary because we knew it was going to be mobbed. So we're on a road on our way out to Promontory. It's north of Salt Lake City by a little bit. And we get into a traffic jam. And we're looking at the Google Maps, and the Google Maps is showing the traffic jam just kind of inching its way up. So we're sitting kind of in the back of it. It's a rolling traffic jam. We had no idea why until things started to loosen up a bit and we found out what was going on. We were behind a wagon train, horse-drawn wagon train, kind of a big one. It was all heading out for the big celebration. So here we are at Promontory, the place where they call it the Golden Spike. And they've got two totally restored, beautiful locomotives that are going to be part of this event. This is one of them, the Jupiter. Very pretty gold trim, red and gold paint. And it was there for the event. It was a couple days early. And they even they even ran it down the tracks a bit. That is a full-on steam locomotive. See, not very many people around. By the next week, this territory that you're looking at on the video will be totally mobbed with people, totally filled. Okay, so here is, well, it's where the Golden Spike was pounded in. There's no Golden Spike there anymore. There's a plaque on a railroad tie that indicates the spot where the East and West Coast finally got together. It was quite a competition between the companies that were building and laying the track to see who could get where first. I guess they had determined this was going to be the spot and they wanted to see who could get to it first. So they were going nuts trying to lay track as fast as they could. So this tie, yellow tie that you can see there, is the spot where they met. And there's a plaque on it. Sorry about being so flummy. The last tie laid on the completion of the Pacific Railroad, I guess, May 1869. So 150 years. Something interesting to note. Oh, this picture shows the telegraph. And as they noted in one of their displays, not only was it a celebration of completion of the railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast, but also telegraphic communications. It just got that put in from the East Coast to the West Coast at that time. And that let everybody know in real time what was going on. The telegraphers sending sort of a play-by-play of how things were going. Promontory, Utah, elevation 4,905 feet. Well, you can see me taking the picture in the reflection in the window. It's a national park sort of thing. Unlike most national parks, it doesn't cost any money to get into, but it is managed by the national park system. An interesting thing, as we were standing there watching it, one of the other people visiting noted that there is a significant difference in the railroad ties, the pieces of wood that hold the tracks in place, between what you see on the left that came from the West Coast and what you see on the right that came from the East Coast. The ones from the East Coast are a lot bigger, a lot longer, different color, different kind of wood, I guess. And I don't think I would have noticed that if the person hadn't pointed it out. This is where the golden spike would be, not a golden spike anymore. The actual golden spike is at Stanford University in California. Apparently some connection between the university or people and the railroad. So that's where the golden spike went. Plus, if they had just left it there, somebody was going to steal it. So, but that's where it would have been. For the celebration, they set up this little sort of fake, well, very fake, storefront, Western town storefronts. Reminded me of the town of Rock Ridge in the movie Blazing Saddles. They built a fake version. If you're familiar with the movie Blazing Saddles, and a lot of people are, they built a phony town of Rock Ridge for the bad guys to come tear down. And that's what this reminded me of very much. You could pound your own golden spike for a quarter, but this wasn't open yet. There was something there for the hordes of people. And I should have gotten this picture in earlier because it's the sign for the place, the Golden Spike National Historic Park, part of the National Park Service. Next, quick drive down to the Bonneville Salt Flats on the western edge of the Great Salt Lake. And we were surprised. The Bonneville Salt Flats are covered with water this time of year. Not completely, but a lot of it is. So there's Cyndi wading out. She's holding her shoes. She got that far and then came limping back because it is no fun walking on that salt, even underwater, with bare feet. So she went back and got some flip-flops. I had a pair of sneakers that I could sort of dedicate to the cause. I was looking on my feet to see if I was wearing those sneakers, but I'm not. I'm wearing Crocs with socks. I am such a geek. My superpower is draining fun from parties. So Cindy's wading out. She waded back, got her flip-flops. But you can see farther out in the distance where it's dry. So we went out there, walked out there, and met these people who were putting together a video shoot for an album, for a song that they were working on. I'm missing a picture. Too bad. They brought some props. You can see the lamp there in the background. They brought a chair and a ficus plant, and sitting out there looking very odd on the Bonneville Salt Flats. It looked weird. We took some pictures with Cyndi and me sitting in it, and I thought I had them here in this album, but not there. This is where we were, a little bit of a view from Google Maps. It's on just off of Interstate 80, and about 70 miles west of Salt Lake City. This is the Salt Flats itself, or where the speedway is. And as you can see, this is also underwater and a little bit deeper than where we were looking at it. We were sitting at a rest stop. It's off to the right of the picture. When we went walking out, and then this is approximately where the actual speedway is, and there's a sign for the speedway. No cars are running on the speedway right now. That water is probably a foot or two deep, not just a couple of inches. So we didn't know that's what we're going to see this time of year, but the locals tell us, yeah, it always floods this time of year. It'll be dry later on this summer, and they'll be back to doing the races. Okay, next, we get out to Park City, which was our destination pretty much for the week. And our first site is looking up at the ski hill. We go out there every January to go skiing. And we've only seen Park City in the winter. And we go during Sundance Week, when the Sundance Film Festival is on, which is in the city of Park City. And the town fills up. You can't get a hotel. You can't get a reservation at a restaurant. You can barely walk down the sidewalk. It is so crowded. You can't get a place to park. And they all watch movies all day. And no one's going skiing. So the ski hill is empty, which is great if what you want to do is ski. We don't stay in Park City. We stay in Provo, about a 45-minute drive away through a beautiful mountain pass and gorgeous scenery and not much traffic. We don't stay in Salt Lake City, giving away all our secrets. So we'd never seen the place except in the wintertime. I knew from webcams that they have up on the mountain that there'd still be some snow. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to see. And it turns out that is it. If you look at the ski runs, they're still full of snow. But the base and most of the territory around it is dry, sort of. Well, it's wet from melting snow, which is why they call it mud season. You can't really go up on the mountain very well. You can't take a bike. Hiking would not be much fun because you're going through crufty snow or muddy earth. This is what the town looks like when it's not filled with revelers for the Sundance Film Festival and it's not packed 30 or 40 inches deep with snow. They've got a ski lift that goes right into town. Most of the ski lifts are at the base of the mountain where the resort is. But this is actually the middle of town. They call it the town lift. And for folks who are staying in town, it's your way up on the mountain without having to get out of town. You can, leave your hotel, carry your skis and boots and stuff, and ride a lift right up to the mountain. And you can see most of the mountain doesn't have snow on it, but that little bit of snow that you can see there, that's the run that would bring you down. And it would bring you right through under this little bridge and up to this platform. You could ski down to that and then get on the lift and head back up. Another look at town. A small, kitschy, somewhat Western-looking town. Lots of little storefronts. And, it's a resort. So full of shops, lots of restaurants. We rented these bikes one day just to get around town a little bit. These are actually electric bikes, and they were terrible. It's one of those things that you rent with an app, cost you a couple of bucks, like a Bird or a Lime scooter, or their bikes. You run an app, cost you a couple bucks to get it started. You get a certain amount of time, I think like 45 minutes or so for a couple of bucks. And then 15 cents a minute after that. And we rode around a fair amount on it, but it was no fun. There's no gears. Kind of one speed. You pedal and the electric motor kicks in and helps you some. No throttle, just brakes and the pedals. But the pedals, you do some pedaling, but again, no gears. So you're kind of depending on the electrics to keep you going. We didn't know. We have ridden electric bikes one time in the past. We had a vacation last fall out to Los Angeles, and we haven't done the travel show on that. We're slack. We should do that. It was a lot of fun. One day of that was a bike tour of Beverly Hills, Northwest Los Angeles, Santa Monica, out to the ocean, Venice Beach, and then back. Total of 35 miles. I ride a bike, and I am in pretty good shape. And after I get in shape for the season, I can go 15, 20 miles on a standard hybrid bike, mountain bike type tires. Not streamlined and super light for street use, kind of heavy, not an expensive bike. And I can do 15 to 20 miles on that. I could push it a little farther, now because I'm in shape for it. But a 35-mile trip would be tiring, especially, well, they call it Beverly Hills for a reason. It's on hills, a lot of up and down. So this place that we signed up for the tour, bike shop that gave these tours, had an option for an electric bike. And we thought, I might be able to make it. Cyndi is not in shape for riding bikes. She's in pretty good shape, but she hadn't been riding her bike. It bothers her shoulder. So we went for the electric bike option. It was a few bucks more. We were with a group of about 7 or 8 other people, plus the guide. The guide, of course, he rides 30 miles every day doing the tours. He was fine. The other family, 35-mile bike trip on hills, on standard bikes, which many of them did not ride regularly, they were dead by the end of the trip. We, on our electric bikes, were fine. You can, with an electric bike, and they're becoming quite a thing. With an electric bike, you can get as much assist as you want or not. You can pedal. If you turn off all the electrics, they pedal like a normal bike. They're a little bit heavy, a little bit. And instead of having 18 gears, they might have only 7 or 8. The lowest gear might not be quite as low as my super low gear on my bike. But you can get as much exercise as you want. And the electrics, you can set the level of assist from 1 to maybe 6. And 1, you can feel it. It's giving you a little boost, like somebody pushing you on the back of the seat. 6, you touch the pedals and whoom, you're out of there. You're gone. And I tried to keep it down. I wanted to get some exercise. Toward the end of the day, I worked it up to maybe do a 4, but most of the time I was sitting somewhere around a 2 on the 1 to 6 scale. So those bikes were great. These bikes were terrible. No gears. They were clearly designed just to commute around town a little bit, not to go for a long ride. We tried going out on one of the trails. They've got an extensive trail system around Park City, bicycle system. The Triangle area could learn some lessons from how they do urban or suburban town biking. We tried to ride out on one of them, and I stopped partway out and said, Cyndi, this is just no fun. These bikes are built like tanks. They are heavy. They clatter. They've got no suspension. You feel every bump. So we headed back and turned them in. We went shopping. We're sitting outside a grocery store here. Picked up some water and other stuff and carried it back in that basket that you can see, that was handy. And so with the shopping and stopping at the hotel and stuff like that, we used up about $10 worth of ride time. Maybe an hour. Maybe a little over an hour, because I think we got 40 minutes for that first $3. If I'm remembering things correctly, I may be way off. So those bikes were terrible. Remember that. Put a pin in that. Those bikes were terrible. Another couple of shots from the base of the ski area. This is not the town lift. This is actually at the base of the resort. This is the first lift that we go up every time we go. It takes us to a side of the mountain that we like to ski on. One of the biggest lifts, the biggest, most utilized lifts at Park City, it's called Payday. And it is very weird to see a ski lift with bare ground below it. Very weird. Again, get an idea of the leftover, dirty, crusty snow that is in parts of the mountain on the ski runs. And I guess it's there because it's been packed down so hard. It's just taking longer to melt because it's so compacted. Another look at the base area, and you can see the resort behind it. A little muddy. And that lift sitting there high and dry. The folks, the locals will say, well, a lot of people will discover this. You come for the winter, but you stay when you go there to live. You stay there for the summer, which is gorgeous. We were in the shoulder season, the mud season, not the locals' favorite season at all, and thinking maybe we came at the wrong time. We knew we were not coming at either peak, at either the peak of the ski season, which is where we always go, or the summer, because these resorts are wonderful summer places. But this time of year, the locals go somewhere else. Here they're getting ready. They're putting in their miniature golf course, and they've got a zip line. You don't do the zip lining in the wintertime, but they do it in the summer. Got a roller coaster. We've seen this roller coaster. It's right along one of the ski lifts, and so we see it all the time. But it's not running. It's not running now either, but you get a better idea what this thing looks like. And when we were there in the wintertime, it's a GMC pickup, and the wheels have been replaced by tractor treads. And it was up at the top of the mountain. Sorry, trouble with the voice today. This is a little bit of interesting architecture for the way they build a lot of the houses in town. Park City is on a slope of a mountain, goes into a little valley, but a lot of it is on a fairly steep slope. And so they need to, and the real estate is really expensive. The ground is expensive. So they need to do the best they can with the real estate that they've got. And this is an idea of what one of the houses looks like. For the audio audience, it is built with the garage on the top level with a little bridge to the street. And then the rest of the house is built down the slope and probably 2 more stories with the amenities, little deck and stuff out in the back. And my comment on that is, do you want your car parked above you? I hope they did a good job building that, because your 2,500 pound car is going to be above your bedroom. And this is an interesting spot that I don't have the best picture of, because Cyndi took the best picture. And I don't have it. This is not exactly a crater, but sort of a crater. It's not a crater like you'd think of, and they call it a crater. It's not a crater that would be formed by a volcano. It was a hot spring that was just kind of bubbling up and building up a limestone dome over the top of it. And the hot spring formed a pool inside this dome, and they made like a big swimming pool out of it. And here's the top of the dome. And there's a hole. There's a little bridge over the top, so you can look down the hole into the cavern inside, and it's just filled with water. And I think you can see the water there. I think you can see some folks swimming. The water is about 65 feet deep. It's like a big swimming pool. except really deep. It is a hot spring, but it's not a super hot spring. The water temperature is about 95. So you're not boiling in it. And for $13, you can go in and float for 45 minutes, I think, is the time. Although it wasn't real busy when we were there because it's the mud season. There were a lot of other people, but it wasn't overcrowded. So we were there for about an hour. We were saying, how are we going to know when 45 minutes is up? Are they going to call us? And they never did. And, when we were just feeling pretty wrinkly, we got out. Turns out we were there for about an hour. They do a lot of scuba diving, snorkeling in there. A lot of training for scuba because it's a very controlled environment, but kind of interesting, and you can dive deep. A lot of people train for snorkeling in a pool, but you can't go more than however deep the pool is, usually 10, 15 feet. So here you got 65 feet to go down to the bottom. And so we're floating on top, and there's these folks scuba diving beneath us, and every once in a while the bubbles would come tickle our butts. Next activity. So you remember I was talking about the Golden Spike and how there was a pair of locomotives. Did I mention there was a pair? Well, you saw one of them. The other one wasn't there yet. The other one was called Big Boy, and it was on its way. And it was going to go along Interstate 80 and 84 from Colorado to Utah, to Promontory. And it was quite the spectacle. We were looking at the highway a moment ago. And this is a helicopter that was going overhead. And let's see, is that video? Okay, here comes some more video. This, just looking at the track, and you can see a little bit of steam down there in the distance, right down there. This locomotive, the Big Boy, was going to be going past from Colorado to Promontory, and not too far from where we were staying in Park City. So we got up early and found a spot on the road to take a look at it, and just keeping myself entertained as we were waiting for it to come by, because you had to get out there early and secure your spot. This is a truck going by with a blade from one of those giant power-producing windmills, the kind that Trump said would give you cancer. We just saw that going by on the highway. And another helicopter going by. Or probably the same one. And here, I got to apologize for one thing. It's my stupid thumb in the lens. I didn't notice, for some reason, that I had my thumb covering the left-hand quarter of the picture. So you'll still be able to see everything. So this is the Big Boy locomotive on its way up toward us. And you can see that there's a kind of a plug of traffic there on Interstate 84 that's kind of going along with it. And it's another one of those rolling traffic jams. You could see the location of their locomotive if you looked on Google Maps, just by watching where the you can see where the train was just by watching the red traffic jam that it was causing as it was going alongside the highway. And it was always alongside the highway because it was going through the mountains, so space of that transiting, that's kind of limited. So we knew that this activity was happening. We knew that the 150th anniversary was happening. We didn't know that the train would be going by us. It was a happy accident. Something to do in mud season when some of the stuff you might want to do is not really available. And there you can see, this is a Google map just showing the route that the train was following and how bollocksed up traffic was. It was a pretty big mess. But we got up there early enough, we got our spot, out on the highway. This is a little town of Echo, and they had some activity going on in Echo. And we knew that would be jammed. So we ended up here along the road, a little farther north. And that wasn't bad. We got up there maybe an hour in advance. I guess something else to mention is that these steam engines, they run on coal and steam. And they can probably store enough coal for a good long time, but they can't store enough water for a long, long run. Turns out they can go about 30 miles between water fill-ups. And back in the day, when they were traveling cross country, every 30 miles there'd be a little town with a water tank for filling up the trains. Some of those towns are still around. Some of them are gone. I don't know what they did for this because the water towers and water tanks are all pretty much gone. I think they probably trucked the water to be able to keep filling that thing up. That would have been something nice to see down in this traffic jam of the little town of Echo, but we didn't get a chance to see that. And there's a still frame of the big boy locomotive that I just grabbed off the video after I got my thumb out of the picture. You might notice that when we looked at the Jupiter, it was all painted nicely in the gold trim and the gold and red paint. And the big boy, the biggest locomotive from that era, just black. Nothing special about it. Lots of steam. Our next stop, we went out to a place called Antelope Island, which is at the north end of the Great Salt Lake. It looked like an interesting place to go do some hiking, a little bit of rock climbing. And as we were getting out there, we got to the gate, long causeway going in. It's a state park. Cost $10 to go in, or unless you got a senior pass or senior discount. If you got an old person with you, $5. Cyndi said, "I got an old guy. I got my geezer." The lady at the kiosk said $5. There's a sign that said no refunds due to bugs. We're going, huh? What? What's going on here? We found out pretty quickly. It is brine season, brine fly season. And so the bugs that you're seeing there, the closest up ones, they're just splattered on the windshield. But the ones a little farther back are just in swarms all along this causeway. Just tons of bugs. And those are the brine flies. They are irritating, but they don't bite. All over the island are another species of bug. They call them no-see-ums. You're familiar with them from around here. We got them here too. They do bite. And you can barely see them. And they make life no fun at all. So that's why the sign said, you should know what you're getting into here. We're not going to give you your money back. This picture, I'm attempting to show, this is the Great Salt Lake behind you. In the background, what I'm attempting to show in this picture is a swarm, and I don't think it really shows up very well. Because they're really hard to see unless they're right up close. This is a picture of a 3D model of Antelope Island. You come in on this causeway over here. And then this is not a real tall mountain, it's 1,000 feet or so. Lots of hiking trails. Sorry. Lots of hiking trails, lots of places to go and do stuff. And no-see-ums everywhere. The brine flies are pretty much along the causeway and only on the perimeter where they are right by the lake. And they hatch from the lake. Their larvae sit in the salt water, and then they hatch, and then they fly around near the edge of the lake. The no-see-ums, they were everywhere. So, there's a sign. The brine flies, non-biting, harmless insects that congregate along the shorelines of the lake. But the no-see-ums, they bit. There's that causeway that we came in on. And that's what you do. You get a net that looks like a beekeeper's kind of net that goes over your head, and you cover up as much of the rest of your body as you can. This is a picture of Cyndi looking all closed up except for a little gap here at her wrist. And she got bit to death along that. They managed to get up inside her shirt, bite her around the midsection and back. She's got some rubber bands kind of keeping her ankles, her pants secured around her ankles, but she still got bit in there. So they work their way everywhere. But at least your face isn't covered with them. But you look kind of funny. There's Cyndi on top of the world, climbed up one rock for a pretty good view. And there's both of us with our stylish total head nets. I didn't get bit nearly as bad as she did. I think, have I got an example of one that I can still see? Oh, yeah, sort of. Yeah, a little bit. It itched for a short time, but not very much. But they were driving Cyndi crazy. So, stylish. Look out for one of the hills down into the Salt Lake Valley. For some reason, they call it a place no one wanted. History of the territory back in the Great Western Migration. Our next stop was, because we weren't spending a lot of time in Park City because nothing to do, the Dinosaur National Monument. That is not a real dinosaur in the picture. It's a mock-up. Cyndi said she saw that at a World's Fair, New York or something, and they moved it out here. And she said she knew that because of the sign. This is a reconstruction, not real dinosaur bones, but there are a lot of real dinosaur bones. The reason this is here is because they have this wall of an excavation of actual dinosaur bones that they have carefully uncovered but left in place. And they did this excavation of this rock face, and then they built a building around it. And so I was asking, and I think everybody who goes by and asks, is this real? Was this built? Is this Disney or is it real life? And it's real life. I was playing with a feature that I discovered on my camera. My camera will let me piece together multiple shots and stitch them and make you could do a 360. I didn't do a whole 360 of it, but this is what the wall looks like with the cameras, kind of curving it. It's not really curved. And all of these bones, right where they were uncovered, but still partly left in the wall. And now, if I can control this, yeah, there's a better picture where you can see the wall is just big and flat, and you can see how the building is built around it. And here's an exterior, and yeah, there's the rock wall, and it's the same thing that continues on inside. That's the window from the inside, from looking at it from the inside, and there's the wall. And there's the same window looking at it from the outside, and there's the same wall. They just built the building around the excavation. Moving on. The next stop was a weird little land of strange rock formations that were created by erosion. But you had to drive a long way on dirt roads past territory where they're doing a lot of oil extraction, fracking, natural gas. And if you think about it, dinosaurs, fossils, and slightly more older fossils that were squeezed a little harder and liquefied and turned to oil. Same territory. Well, what a surprise. You got all these gas and oil, shale extraction all over the place down there. And then we got to this little monument, this little area, middle of no place. And all of these strange rock formations. You know, why here? Why not everywhere? Why not anywhere? Why here at all? Don't know. But it's not a big place. You know, walk around it in an hour. And these things are all over the place. Looking very odd. There's a similar spot in Bryce Canyon, which is not too far away, you know, a couple 100 miles, still in Utah. They also have these spires and strange formations. Look a little different. Here I'm playing with that camera feature again. I can make sort of a 360 pan out of it. And you get a pretty good idea. The territory, I mean, we're seeing the whole thing, at least one edge of it. And just kind of flat and scrubby beyond it. That is Cyndi. I wish she could be on the show. She would add so much to the description and narration. Of course, the show would be 4 hours long. I hope I didn't do this too much. The panorama view. Yeah, the audio audience, I will put some of these pictures up on the website, triangletalkshow.com. I don't know how to describe it. It's, you know, like being on a foreign planet, an alien planet. For the most part, these are delicate. I mean, they're created by erosion. They're not strong. They don't want you climbing on them. But they give you a spot where you can climb through them and get a view of what things look like as you get a little bit deeper in amongst them. As a trail, we came across some other folks. They apologized for being in my picture, and I said, no, I like having people in the picture. It gives you, well, for one thing, gives you perspective of how big this area is, how big these formations are. And again, for the audio audience, they are maybe 10 to 20 or 30 feet tall. Not much bigger than that. And this weird bench somebody built and stuck it in there. Looks very out of place. Yeah, okay, one more panoramic view. And this just, interesting. Can I make that thing go away? I don't know. It gives you a good idea of one. This is not the whole place, but it is a kind of representative individual little canyon of which there are maybe 3 that look like this. And the territory beyond is, it's beautiful, but it's not remarkable. I guess I should keep talking for the audio audience. So the pictures, yeah, they do it some justice, but not completely. You get part of the idea by looking at pictures. So next, our last day in Park City, we rented some real electric bikes. I did some Google searching and found out that there was a company called Pedego, I think, Pedego, Pedego. I think I wanted to keep calling them Pedago, but makes sense. Pedals, Petago. And they were renting these electric bikes, and they were more like the ones that we rode in California, and also considerably more expensive. We got a 4-hour do-it-yourself ride on them for, I think it was $75, something like that. So considerably more expensive than those crappy other bikes, but we had so much more fun. These had, I think, seven gears and 5 levels of electric assist, and something that the California bikes did not have, a throttle, which was up there on the right handlebar. Just reach your fingers around it and turn it, and you could control the electric motor to a great extent, or just have it operate when you push the pedals. And if you set it at like 1, once again, you start pedaling, you get a little bit of assist. Set it at 2, you get a little bit more. 3, a little bit more. 4, now when you hit the pedal, the bike kind of goes boom. And 5, the bike really goes boom. The one thing I'll say about that is it, the technology, the design, the way that it works is not perfect. As I mentioned out there in Salt Lake, there in Park City, they have an extensive trail system, and they got a bike repair kit out there for you. A pump, tools, a rack. Can't see quite the top, but you could put your bike on top of that blue thing and do work on it if you had a problem out there on the road. There are a few of those scattered around. They know how to take care of their bike people. Great. Another panorama. So with that throttle, with the pedal system, as you pedaled, not a perfect implementation of the possible design. You would think, well, it's just going to give you a bit of assist, or however much assist that you're asking for in pushing the pedals, but that's not really the way it works. The way it works is you set at whatever level. There's my thumb again. You set whatever level you're going to have, and after you push the pedals 1, 2 revolutions, the motor kicks in and doesn't take over, but it kicks in at a specific level, a specific amount for the level that you set. It is not tracking your effort on the pedals. It only wants to know that you're pedaling, because it doesn't want to be running when you're not pedaling unless you do it by the throttle. And if you use the throttle, you don't need to pedal at all. You can just hold that throttle down. The maximum speed for the bikes was 20 miles an hour. All electric, no human assist. The California bikes didn't have the throttle. Your interface to the electrics was through the pedals. A lot of the trail system is paved. There's also a lot of gravel, and as you can tell from this picture where we're riding along a little creek, it is gorgeous. Little art installation along there. This thing that they had little hammers. You bang on them. They're not particularly musical. They're kind of irritating, but something you can bang on. Entertains the kids, I guess. And of course, when you have a major day of letting an electric motor do most of the work for you, you need some food. So this is one of the restaurants in town. I think I got the meal sitting in front of me is bangers and mash. So sausages and mashed potatoes and vegetables and 3 pieces of bread sticking up. And Cindy's got some kind of salad back there. And we leave beautiful Park City and the Salt Lake City Airport. And once again, that's a picture of Antelope Island now from the window of the plane. And you can get an idea. It's a little mountain, little hill, and a long stretch of island. And from this elevation, you can't see the bugs. Fortunately, can't see the bugs. Back to politics. This is a cartoon that I saw in the News and Observer. So, come back. I'm trying to make it bigger. That's not the way. That's not the way. There we go. Because we've done some activist programs, and I'm calling myself the antique activist wannabe. So this comic is basically the guy's a doofus. That's the thing about the comic. He's a doofus. And he says, I've been thinking about being an activist, but there's one thing I don't like about it. And he's got a talking dog. The talking dog says, what's that? And the doofus says, the active part. Okay, one more thing. Google. Google Fiber is coming to the territory. Now, Google Fiber has been coming to the territory, not Park City, back here in Cary. Google Fiber is installed in some parts of the triangle. Not very much, but in some parts. And they've been trenching around here with the hopes of getting it in by the end of this year. So they have dug and put in their orange conduits, the empty tube that holds stuff eventually. You know, the internet is a series of tubes. And it turns out that's literally correct. So we saw that come in a few months ago, and now is at a park nearby, and there's what's going in. It's the actual fiber, and it's Google. Looking at a way bill here. This is hold for Google Fiber. They'll call for pickup. Hang on to this stuff. And there is a shot of what the fiber optic cable looks like. And as it turns out, it's actually a bunch of fiber optics. Come back. I'm trying to zoom in on it. There we go. What you're seeing is a bundle of bundles. Each one of these little things has about 6 fiber optic cables in it, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Looks like about 12 or 15 of them. So a lot of different little fiber optic cables. I have no idea how they splice those. It's not, doesn't look easy to me, but I'm sure they got the technique down. So that's what goes in the orange bundle, and that is on its way. And then finally, just a pretty sunset on Lake Crabtree, which is just up the road from us. Cyndi and I were taking a walk and had this pretty sunset. And that's it. I put that on Reddit, and somebody said, well, it drew all kinds of comments. Oh, beautiful, wonderful. And someone said, you should put that on earth porn. I don't know what earth porn is. Do I dare try to find out? Sure, why not? Let's see. Earth porn. Oh, it's a Reddit spot. Amazing images of light and landscape. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think my sunset's going to hold up against a lot of the stuff that we got going on in the earth porn. Well, I don't know, maybe. Maybe. I mean, just a picture of trees and kind of fog. Oh, this doesn't go from one image to the other very well, does it? No. Mount Rainier, Oregon. I think this was Pacific Coast Highway. How does that compare to my sunset? Yeah, I don't know. I'd get away with that. What the heck? Why not? I'll send it to earth porn. Time to go to dinner. Did you enjoy my vacation? You know, watching somebody else's vacation pictures. I mean, isn't the classic, oh my God, no, please, no scenario? You're going to visit some friends and they bring out that three of those stacks of those old carousels of slides. No! Don't do it to me. Well, of course, you don't have my professional narration. All right, that is it for this episode of the Triangle Talk Show. Mud Season in Park City, episode 59. I'm Gary Pierce. I'm your travel expert. Ha! There's the off button for YouTube. Over and out.